Hello. Welcome to another installment of the Central American Group's podcast, in which experts discuss topics related to doing business in Costa Rica, El Salvador, and the rest of the region.
Hello, welcome to another installation of the Central American Group series of podcasts. In these recordings, we speak to experts in various fields of business in Central America, most specifically in Costa Rica and El Salvador. Today, we are very fortunate to have Carlos Camacho with us. Carlos is a partner in one of the leading law firms in Central America called Arias Law Firm. Carlos, welcome to our podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Stephen. It's great to be here. We, as you said, we are a Central American law firm with over 80 years of experience working with foreign direct investment. We have offices in El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. And our main focus is working with companies in setting up their operations in any of these countries. I'm based in Costa Rica specifically, and what I have been doing for most of my career is helping investors navigate the regulatory climate and successfully set up their shop in Costa Rica.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you for that summary. Today, the subject of the podcast is something that we as the Central American Group always get questions on when we're talking to prospective tenants of the free trade zone. That, of course, is the Costa Rican free trade zone regime. And, Costa Rica is very well known for foreign direct investment attraction over the last 3 decades. And a lot of this success is because of the free trade zone regime. Can you explain what it is and who can benefit from it?
Of course, and I agree. I think free trade zone is the cornerstone of Costa Rica's foreign direct investment strategy. The free trade zone regime is a set of incentives that have been created by the Costa Rican government to attract companies that are willing to commit to a certain level of investment and the creation of employment in Costa Rica. These companies need to come from specific sectors. Costa Rica has tailored what it has defined as strategic activities that are the ones that are eligible for these tax holidays. The most common and the most probably the most relevant is services and manufacturing. And within manufacturing and services, there are other set of subdivisions that are mainly focused to attract medical device companies and software development services, shared service centers, and anything has to do with research and development. Specifically in the medical device industry, it's very important to understand that Costa Rica has done great efforts to create a hub of companies that have created an ecosystem where we have a large manufacturing, medical device manufacturing companies to smaller and medium-sized companies that have become part of a supply chain environment. The free trade zone as such basically provides incentives such as a reduced income tax or zero income tax if it's in the service category, no importation taxes for raw materials, no importation taxes for equipment. So let's say you are a manufacturing company, anything that you bring into the country for the operation, once you have complied with the application, will be tax exempt. And then anything that you manufacture here in Costa Rica, then re-export, will be tax exempt on the exportation, and the gains that are produced for that activity in Costa Rica are taxed at a very reduced income tax of only 6%. If you make a larger investment over $10 million, then that reduction goes to 0%, so 0% income tax. Very important to note that there is an application that needs to be completed where you have to state what is going to be the investment commitment for the project. It has to be over $150,000 in fixed assets, and then you have to make a commitment on employment. Basically, there is nothing set in the law, but you need to show that you're going to have enough employment for the project to be attractive for the Costa Rican government. Finally, the free trade zone does not have any specific taxes for free trade zone companies, but rather just a monthly fee, which is fairly low, and that's what makes the mechanism very attractive for free trade zone companies. I would say as the last advantage of the free trade zone regime is that there is no withholding tax and there is no tax on remittances. So the company that's set up here in Costa Rica will be able to repatriate their as dividends the funds that were initially invested by the holding company without having to pay any withholding taxes in Costa Rica.
You know, you made reference to an application that's needed to gain free trade regime status. When companies are going through the process of doing that application, what are the things that they should look for?
Yeah, that's a great question. The government has made the process fairly straightforward. It's an electronic application that you submit through the Procomer, which is the tax authority, the free trade zone authority, and you will include information such as the location of the activity or the site where the company is going to be operating, the investment commitment, and a description of the services, manufacturing process that the company is going to be undertaking. This application, although is the filing of the application is straightforward, you do need to be very careful in the preparation of the business plan and in the commitments that you strategically need to include into the application. Why? Well, the law provides 3 years to the companies to meet those commitments on investment and employment. So it is very important that companies do seek legal and expert advice on how to prepare those applications. The applications usually, the process usually takes between 4 to 5 months, and it's divided in 4 different stages. The first stage is the technical review by Procomer, then a legal review by the Ministry of Foreign Trade. Third is the signing process. The application needs to be authorized and signed by the Ministry of Foreign Trade and then by the President of Costa Rica. And finally, at the 4th stage, which is the obtention of the custom authorization. This 4-step process it works fairly smooth, but there is the need to follow up and keep providing additional information whenever the authority requires it, especially when describing elaborated manufacturing process or a service process that need to be clarified to the authorities.
You mentioned a timeline and how long it takes to go through the whole process from the time you submit to the time you receive the green light for your foreign trade zone regime application. Are there ways that application process might be delayed, and what are they?
Yes, usually the time is the whole timeline for setting up a free trade zone operation is 5 to 6 months. The first month is more of incorporating a local entity, preparing the free trade zone application. The delays can come from the final stages of the process. The signature process sometimes takes a while, depending on the availability of the minister and the president. And the customs authority sometimes required to make an inspection of the site, or there might be some heavy workload and might take longer than we usually expect. But I would say that normally we can expect the whole process to be within 5 to 6 months. Although delays are expected, is not a huge delays. The Costa Rican government is very aware that foreign direct investment is very important to the country, and they tend to follow the timelines that they have set, so that there are no major delays.
During the time that the government is processing the application, what would you recommend that companies do? How should they use that time?
Well, that's a great question, Steve. Basically, what we recommend is obtaining in parallel other permits that are required. For example, registration before the Social Security Administration to enroll the employees, registration before the tax authority, and the obtention of the commercial license for the specific site. And I would say that a very important task that needs to be front and center of any foreign direct investment project in Costa Rica is seeking the location. The advantage of Costa Rica is that has several options for industrial parks and office parks, and it's key to find the right partner in when you're looking for your site. There are several parks, and there are some parks that have huge experience, and they are very dedicated to working with free trade zone companies. And if you make the right decision to find a good logistics partner where you set up your operation, the rest of the process may go smoother when you apply for these other permits.
Are there any activities that are restricted during this processing of the application time?
Yes, correct. The Free Trade Zone Authority just make sure that you do not start any commercial activity before the free trade zone authorization is granted. So basically, you cannot engage in invoicing for those commercial activities. What is recommended during this 3 to 5 months period is to start a hiring process, review human resource policies, do all the housekeeping internally. The training of the human resource is key, and usually companies do take those 3 to 5 months to train the staff in the processes that they're going to be undertaking. And then, of course, there's time for construction of facilities, building improvements, installation of all the equipment and IT systems. All that is called pre-operational work, and all that is allowed for companies to perform while they're waiting for the final authorization.
One thing that is interesting about the free trade zone regime in Costa Rica is it's kind of dealt with in two different ways. One has to do with an area that's called the Greater Metropolitan Area. And there's what is known as the outside of the Greater Metropolitan Area. Can you tell us what does that mean?
Sure, and that's very important because the law has this sense of trying to encourage companies to seek setting up their operation outside of metropolitan areas to improve the quality of life of lesser developed areas. However, both areas provide very attractive benefits for companies. So, for example, inside the metropolitan area, the investment commitment is $150,000 on fixed assets if you set up inside a free trade zone park. Well, if you go outside of the metropolitan area, then it's only $100,000 of investment commitments. The employment the term of the free trade zone benefit is longer if you set up outside of the metropolitan area. One of the things that keep companies inside the metropolitan area is the fact that most universities, most of the current medical device cluster and the services cluster is in the metropolitan area. Most of the human resource is still in the metropolitan area. However, it slowly has become the outside metropolitan area has become another option because of availability of human resource and because there are also new infrastructure outside of the metropolitan area that becomes or is very attractive for companies.
For people that might not be familiar with the way Costa Rica is set up in geographical terms, when you refer to the metropolitan area, could you give a little idea of what area that includes, what communities?
Sure. The metropolitan area is traditionally known as the San Jose downtown area, Alajuela, Heredia, and Cartago. Of course, there are parts of these four provinces that are out of the metropolitan area, but the confluence of these four provinces, which are the one that host the main largest populated cities, is what is called the Greater Metropolitan Area. If you go outside of on the west side, if you go outside of Grecia, for example, then you are outside of the what is considered the metropolitan area, and therefore that's where the most attractive investment will be available from there on to the west. And on the east side, from Turrialba on, that is considered outside of the metropolitan area.
What happens when companies approach the end of their free trade zone regime program?
Well, that is a great question and something that needs to be flagged from the beginning of the free trade zone term. As we said, the common term is 8 or 10 years, depending on the category and the location of the project. But when you are approaching to the end of the free trade zone term, you have each company has the possibility to renew the benefits by making a new project or a new significant investment. Usually, we're talking that the government likes to see a new investment of between 20% and 30% of the total investment that was done during the first years of the free trade zone term. If you do that commitment, if you create a new project or make a new significant investment, the government will process your application and analyze it, and will very likely grant you another 8 years if you're in a metropolitan area, or 10 years if you're outside. Over 8 years if you're outside, just by the fact that you're willing to make a new commitment on the investment. Another very important thing is you do not need to wait for year 7 or 8 to start making that investment. If you finish your business plan during the first 3 years, you meet your investment commitment, and as it happens often, companies realize that they like Costa Rica, that they like the human resource, that they want to grow in Costa Rica. So the law allows them to do what I like to call reclocking of the investment. So if you're in year 4 and you want to make another significant investment, which goes beyond that 20-30% of the total investment, you can apply for a reclock. That means that you apply for the renewal on year 4, and then you will get another 8 years counting from that year 4. So that will extend you up to 12 years if you're willing to make additional investments while you're still on your first term.
So in manufacturing, for instance, I'm just thinking about something like adding a production line might be an action that would enable you to continue to use your FTZ program?
Exactly. Anything that will represent an investment in fixed assets, that will definitely be a good opportunity to reclock your benefits.
Well, I think we've covered a lot here. One thing that happens as a result of these podcasts, when visitors to our website listen to them, they often have questions. So what I like to do is ask our guests to give their contact information so that they can go directly to them and get access to experts. So can you tell us how somebody with questions about this might be able to get into contact with you and your law firm?
Thank you, Steve. Yes. My personal office email is carlos.camacho@ariaslaw.com. And you can find more information about our firm and our free trade zone and foreign direct investment practice at www.ariaslaw.com. That's ARIASLAW.com.
Well, Carlos, thanks for joining us today. What you had to present to us was extremely interesting, and I know that it's going to be useful to the listeners. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. Sign up to receive the Central American Group's quarterly newsletter by visiting www.thecentralamericangroup.com.